I want to tell you something that I realized after Passover, and this seems to me to be of the greatest significance. From what were we liberated in Mitzrayim, in ancient Egypt? We were liberated from Mitzrayim itself, right? The pollution, the idol worship. It was a spiritual trap in which the path to Hashem, to God, was covered and blocked. But in fact, we were liberated from the domination of our Yetzer Hara, our evil inclination, which caused us to follow after the allure of Egypt. As we say every day in the Shema, do not follow after your heart and your eyes, which lead you astray. The Yetzer Hara wants us to follow after our heart and our eyes and not to listen to Hashem. The real work of Passover, of Pesach, is to liberate ourselves from the Yetzer Hara. Here is an amazing letter that the famous rabbi, the Chazon Ish, wrote to a Talmud, a student of his. Strengthen yourself, my dear one. This is what he said. Strengthen yourself and envelop yourself with the fortitude to engross yourself in Torah. For it is for that purpose you were created. With just a little more effort, you'll be able to come to grips with your evil inclination. Then his defeat will be total and he will no longer bother you. Just overcome him today and he'll be your faithful servant for all time. This is remarkable. The Chazon Ish is telling us that if we engross ourselves in Torah, we'll be able to overcome the evil inclination and make him our servant. Do you realize what that means? The Yetzer Hara is a powerful angel. The Yetzer Hara is the angel of death, the angel who fought against our father Yaakov. Who can defeat death? Who can defeat this powerful enemy? Well, our rabbis tell us that the one medicine which can defeat the Yetzer Hara is Torah itself. Hashem, the Holy One, blessed is He, said to Israel, my sons, I have created the Yetzer Hara, and I have created Torah as its antidote. If you involve yourselves in Torah, you will not be delivered into its hands. That is a quote from the Gemara in the tractate of Kiddushin. And the Chazon Ish, as we saw, reinforces this by telling us that engrossing ourselves in Torah enables us to defeat the Yetzer Hara. Furthermore, we read in the Haggadah, on the very last page that we said on Pesach, on Seder night, Had Gadya, Hashem will destroy the angel of death in the end of history. I would like to tell you a thought I had, which I believe concerns our ability to control the Yetzer Hara and make him our servant. Considering that this concerns our ability to control the enemy who harasses our efforts to come close to Hashem every second of our lives, who brings sickness and death into the world, who causes all destruction and pain. This is potentially of the greatest importance in the world. We say every morning, do not let the evil inclination dominate us. Attach us to the good inclination and to good deeds, and compel our evil inclination to be subservient to you. The Yetzer Hara is so potent. It is active 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It does not rest on Shabbos. It never gets tired. It's always many steps ahead of us. It's ingenious, always thinking of new tricks to defeat us, always changing stratagems so that we will not even recognize who it is. Remember how the Malach, the angel who battled our father Yaakov, refused to divulge its name? Its apparent identity is constantly changing, and its ultimate stratagem is death, from which we cannot escape. Or can we? Maybe we can. Through Torah, we have endless life. Here's a famous story about Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, May his memory be for a blessing. One night, and this was in communist Russia, he heard banging on the door. A squad of secret police entered and placed him under arrest for his crime of learning and spreading Torah. One of his interrogators put a gun to his head and said, "This toy has a way of making people cooperate." The Rebbe answered calmly, "That toy is persuasive to one who has many gods and only one world. But I have one God and two worlds." We, the Jewish people, have one God and two worlds. If we can control the Yetzer Hara, we can control our lives in this world and the world to come. Since I was a child, I've been aware of a force within me which fought me at every moment and defeated all my efforts to reach my goals. Not that I knew my goals as a young child, but since I found Hashem, I know my goal is to get as close as possible to him and follow his ways. I learned later this force was known as the Yetzer Hara. Now I look back after many decades in this world and I think about the Yetzer Hara. I'm not saying I've succeeded in this, but I want to tell you that I have realized the Yetzer Hara is intrinsically my greatest friend. How could that be? And that means it's intrinsically everyone's greatest friend. And I'll tell you what I mean. If you realize that the Yetzer Hara is your friend, then you understand it is your servant to achieve anything you want. What caused me to embrace Hashem? What caused me to turn my life around? My anguish at the fact that I was a prisoner of the Yetzer Hara. This is exactly what happened in our exile in Egypt. What caused the children of Israel to be able to leave slavery in Egypt? The slavery, the suffering. Then they cried out to Hashem, and he listened to their cries and he saved them. He liberated our ancestors from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, and brought them to him and gave us the Torah, which is our kesubah, our marriage contract with Hashem. Our very suffering saved us and caused us to call out to Hashem. The same thing is true on a personal level. Our very suffering, our subjugation, our slavery to the Yetzer Hara is what's killing us on every level. But if we feel the oppression of the slavery and cry out to Hashem, then he will liberate us in the way he liberated our ancestors in Mitzrayim and Egypt. This is how the Yetzer Hara is in reality our greatest friend. He's the one who causes us to cry out. He's the one who causes us to come home to Hashem. If we feel the slavery and suffering and cry out to Hashem to rescue us, then he will rescue us the way he rescued our ancestors in Egypt. Without the Yetzer Hara, we would drown in our separation from Hashem. We would be like a rock or an ant or a snail, which have no neshama, no soul, and therefore no feeling of separation from Hashem. Like the snake who was cursed in the Garden of Eden with never needing to be close to Hashem. They don't have lives. They have no relationship with Hashem. But we who are tormented by the Yetzer Hara have life. The Yetzer Hara is the one who causes us to cry out to Hashem. This is why he can become our greatest friend. Because without the Yetzer Hara, we wouldn't get out of Mitzrayim. And without him, we will not get out of our present exile. I realize what a great gift it is that Hashem created the Yetzer Hara. Without the Yetzer Hara, I would not study Torah, because I would never realize that I need Torah to live. So I thank Hashem for the Yetzer Hara. Rather than curse the Yetzer Hara, I want to thank Hashem for his kindness in creating this great friend who I thought was my greatest enemy. It says in the Psalms, King David says, Evan Masu Haboinim, the stone which the builders despise has become the cornerstone. This is the tremendous, incredible liberation of Pesach, of Passover, and the tremendous liberation possible in our own lives. This is particularly true now during Sfiras HaOmer, when we're counting the Omer, because now we're working on ourselves to elevate ourselves and free ourselves from the impurity of Egypt. And that means we right now should be working to control our Yetzer Hara and cause the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, to become dominant over the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. So this is the exact spiritual work which we should be conducting at this time during Sfiras HaOmer. Now is the time to bring the enormous power of the Yetzer Hara under the control of the Torah and direct all our resources toward serving Hashem and achieving our liberation from Egypt and our subjection to the evil inclination. May we all soon greet Mashiach ben David. I just want to add one note about recent technical difficulties, which prevented access to my new website, 2020vision.co.il. Those difficulties have now been resolved. My new book, Hold On, Surviving the Days Before Mashiach, is now available there through my website at 2020vision, 2020vision.co.il, or through the distributor feldheim.com, or at any Jewish bookstore.